Welcome to the Stronger Leader podcast, home of the hashtag Stronger movement, where we explore the fascinating tapestry of human experience. I'm your host, Tony Cardello. Each episode, we'll sit down with a remarkable guest to dive into their unique journeys, from successful business leaders to individuals who have faced the darkest of times and emerged stronger, even from some of the inspiring youth of this emerging generation. We'll also cover essential topics on marriage, leadership, as well as spiritual, physical, and mental health, all in hopes to provide you with the tools and motivation to navigate your own life's challenges. Whether you're here to learn, grow, or simply be inspired, there's something for everyone. So get comfy, settle in, and join us as we embark upon this journey together. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. Turn on the notifications so you'll know whenever we drop new content. All right, let's get started. Yeah, baby. Welcome to another episode of the Stronger Leader podcast and your host, Tony Cardello. And the crowd goes wild. I'm here with a very special guest, a longtime friend of mine. And man, we got some stories I can't wait to get into. My man, Shawn Vinson. What's up, Shawn?
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah. You know, I couldn't get ready fast enough, but I was going to have my my intro for this be American Equity Mortgage. The future belongs to you.
That's awesome. I can't believe you remember that. That's crazy.
It's the jingle of the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So if any of you guys just heard that jingle I just did, Ray Vinson here with American Equity Mortgage. That's burned into my head. That's Shawn's father. And
Yeah.
you know, that's yeah. So craziness. That's not how I met Shawn. I met Shawn through our fun life. And, and yeah, we both made it out of that alive.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know that I'd say unscathed. We definitely got scathed along the way, but
Yeah.
but we're
Some
here.
lessons. Some lessons.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Experience, stories, lessons, whatever you want to call them, right?
For sure.
So for those of you who are tuning in, you know, the premise of what I do here with the Stronger Leader is I try to have people on here, and number one, that have inspirational stories that have come from something, right? Some level of darkness, some overcoming some adversity. You know, not everybody has to have been, you know, drug addicts and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that have had that have overcome life circumstances and didn't necessarily have to be drugs. But you know, Shawn and I share a similar path with the drugs and the partying, and but not only that, but a businessman. He's now a father, husband, a Christian, newer in his faith walk, and really, you know, on fire in that regard. This is a lot, you know, all of the things that we talk about on here on a pretty consistent basis. You emulate all those things, man, and I'm honored, A, to have you on here, but B, you know, more so to call you my friend. And you know, there's several thousand miles between us in hours at any given moment, and we've maintained contact over all these years. And you know, thank goodness for technology and social media and everything else. We can stay in tune with each other. But you know, we have, you know, fairly infrequent phone calls, but when we do, they're meaningful, and encounters seem to be meaningful. And I just, you know, appreciate the hell out of you, man. So I'm excited for our listeners to hear some of your story, man. I don't know a ton of it prior to, and so I'm excited to hear kind of what led to, you know, the life that you lived, and then ultimately out of it and all that. So why don't we start out? Just introduce yourself, tell the listeners who you are, where you grew up, where you're from. You know, give us your bio, man. Who are you?
Yeah. Thanks for all those kind words, first of all. Excuse me. But yeah, my name is Shawn Vinson. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Grew up and raised there, and now I live in Destin, Florida, as of the last 5 years. And I can get into that later. But you know, grew up very normal, slightly dysfunctional family. You know, you know, lower middle class, just cruising along. Life's great. Playing ball out in the backyard. You know, with the neighbor friends. Who I'm still friends with today, and everything was normal. So I thought, you know, and but one thing that for me personally that I struggled with was being secure. I was major insecurities growing up. Not only was I short and let me explain how short I was, okay, and how little I was. You're laughing because you don't even know this part, bro. So in freshman year, okay, I wrestled, and the lowest weight class was 90. And
Oh,
they were running laps with trash bags trying to lose weight, and I'm eating pasta and donuts. I was 83 pounds.
yeah.
83 pounds in high school. I think my 10-year-old daughter is like 68 pounds today.
Wow.
So I was
Crazy
little,
because I was
little.
yeah, I was 112 my senior year. So I was little too, but I wasn't that little.
Okay.
I was really little.
Yeah. Well, there was one kid shorter, Craig Brush, and we're still friends. He's a little person.
Yeah.
Okay. We're still friends on Facebook and we check in on each other. But yeah, he was the only guy shorter than me. But anyway, so lots of insecurities with that.
Sure.
Very skinny, very scrawny. Um, and so as we started getting older, the friends around me were getting older and bigger, and I wasn't quite growing, you know. And as we got into high school, you know, girls became an interest, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was in baseball terms batting zero. Okay. Zero luck. And but I always had a really interest in having girlfriends, all right, or a girlfriend. And so as we got a little older, teenage years, still I'm always hanging out with guys 1 year older than me, so I'm even smaller, you know, and trying to get their approval. And I found sarcasm and comedy definitely helped the bullies stay away in school. And with the older kids, they found me funny. And so the crazier I was, the more respect I got to hang out with these older guys.
Mm,
And that started at a young age, you know, and I was just like, I'll do it. I'll do it. So I
yeah.
kind of was, even though I was fearful of stuff, I would do it for attention, you
Yeah.
know? And I had no idea I was doing these kinds of things, you know, at this age. But now that I'm older looking back, this is what was happening.
Yeah, I gotta
And
tell you,
so,
man,
yeah,
as you sit here and articulate that, I could probably share. I never really looked at that perspective because I was the adventurous, wild, crazy adrenaline rush guy too, and
yeah,
probably drove a lot of that as well.
for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, yeah,
And then as we got a little older in high school, you know, alcohol starts coming around, parties, and trying to fit in. And, you know, if anybody says they had their first sip of beer and they love the taste of it, they're lying.
right.
It tastes terrible,
Yeah, right.
especially as a young teenager, you know. And, but what I did like was I was funnier, I thought, at least the audience
Yeah,
they just seemed to laugh at me more. And I'm like, this is good. All those fears and insecurities went away. I could talk to any girl. I don't
yeah,
know if I had a shot with them, but I would talk to them.
yeah.
And I couldn't do that without alcohol. Um, and so that became attractive to me. Trying to be the guy, the funny kid, the funny guy, the crazy guy, I'll do that, or to make girls laugh or whatever it was. But that was the driver from age 15 on, you know?
So back up for 1 minute,
Yeah.
only because I know a piece of the story with your your father's success. Money. When did money enter the equation? Because your dad hit it. I mean, he started doing extremely well.
That's
When did
right.
that start happening? How
Yeah,
old?
so I graduated high school in 94, so I was about 18 years old then. And my dad didn't start making money until the late 90s. So
Okay.
right out of high school, he started making some, and life changed a little bit, but he divorced my mom, had a young girlfriend, and went that way and just started
Yeah.
making money and focused on business and money. So as a young boy, you're right, wanting father's approval and time with dad, he was work, 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 money, 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 money. I missed that. So I was craving that too. You know, that was
Mhm.
another thing I was insecure about having was time with dad, and I wanted to be around him more. So at a young age, I would go to the office with him, you know, on the weekends or whatever. So I was always around this mortgage industry stuff from age 12 on, you know. Um, but like I said, we were very middle class, very average, lower middle class. Just we had a house and had two cars, you know, and
Did
it was
do you
nice.
feel like your dad did? I feel like the generation before is like our parents. Because I'm the same
Yeah,
as you. The father's role was to give the kids what they needed, like feed them, put food on the table, make sure you didn't want for nothing. You know, if your dad's making
yeah,
money and you wanted something, you could have,
yeah.
type. But did he provide in that that
He
role.
he provided,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a hustler, man. He's a salesman, he's a hustler, he's a grinder. And I'm gonna take a quick side direction here. I got a great story about him and how he started. It's a miracle what happened. Um, and then we'll get back to me personally or however you want to take this. But my dad grew up dirt poor, dirt poor, was raised by his grandma and felt abandoned by his mom. And so his goal was to never be, they had no plumbing. They had an outhouse. They had a roof, but they had dirt and they played basketball on dirt with a milk carton.
Yeah.
It was that like that. So I'm painting the picture, right? You get it. And so anyway, so her name was Mamaw, was the grandma, Mamaw. And the reason I'm sharing her name is it's really important. So Mamaw raised my dad very well, with Bible, with prayer, with church, and that was like his mom, and he loved her very very much. And so, when he started doing well, he had moved from. They lived in West Virginia. They moved to Ohio and started the family. And then his friend called him and said, "Ray, I'm doing mortgages. I live in Indianapolis. I need you to go to Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. It's a big city, man, and open a company for me, open a branch for me." And he's like, "Me? I'm selling furniture, bro. Like, I don't know how to run a bank. This is crazy." He's like, "Oh, it's so simple." And back then it was. This was subprime lending. So, and so, and it was easy, back then. And so, anyways, he taught them, and my dad just bit and said, "Man, let's do this." And they went all in, and they did really well. And he went from making $0 to what would be equivalent today to, let's call it 200,000 or 300,000. That was big money to him, man. He was just like, "This is a game changer." So he goes and buys a custom built house, a car, and he's living the life. And his buddy was living the life too, a little too much. And he went to Vegas quite a bit, and he literally gambled his entire company away,
Oh, wow.
bankrupted the company, and had a gambling addiction. And so my dad is like in Missouri, and the checks aren't coming. This is when FedEx was still new, and he's like, "Oh, you didn't get the checks?
Yeah,
We'll
checks in the
put them in
mail.
the mail."
Yeah.
Yeah, literally checks in the mail. So 4 or 5 more days go by, and still no checks. So my his staff is freaking out. These are salespeople on commission, commission guys, and
Yeah.
their money's not there on Friday. They're freaking out. So
Yeah.
turmoil is happening, and finally the guy comes clean and says, "Ray, I'm sorry, there is no business. We're done." So my dad had put that office, the copier, all the equipment in his name, helping his friend get the St. Louis office open, and he had to go bankrupt. So my dad went bankrupt in the hiccup.
Yeah, it come
I
out.
had a call come in. Give me 1 second. Let me put
Oh,
this on Do Not Disturb.
okay.
Okay. So so he went bankrupt, and he had to go back home to Mamaw. Actually, you know, went back home to us, but went back home to Mamaw to talk about it. And he's crying. He's like, "This is just not fair. I finally had success. I always wanted this. This is what I always wanted, and I had it. And it got ripped away from me, and it wasn't my fault. It's not fair." And Mamaw said, "Son, come over here and pray with me." He's like, "Okay." So they sat there and they prayed. And they prayed and they prayed to the point where he said, "Mamaw, I got it. Okay. Like, enough with the prayer." And she said, "No, no, we're going to pray some more." And he's like, "Okay." So for like 2 days, they're just hanging out, praying all the time. And he doesn't want to, but he's begrudgingly doing it. And finally, she says, "You're going to go do it again.
Mm.
You already did it, right? You just said you did it all yourself, right? You did all that yourself with his guidance, but you did the St. Louis branch and you ran it. You're going to go do it again." And he said, "Mamaw, I can't. I don't have credit. How am I going to get an office? How am I going to get a copier? How am I going to get a fax machine?" This is how long ago
Yeah.
this was.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, how much is all that stuff?" "Well, it's this, this, this." And they totaled it up. And she said, "So what's the total?" And he said, "That's $7,000. You don't understand. I have $0." She said, "Let's pray about it." Mama, I don't want to pray anymore. I am sorry. And mind you, dirt, front yard, backyard, outhouse, no plumbing.
Not
He goes to bed.
$7,000 in a shoebox under a bed anywhere.
Correct. So they go to bed and he wakes up to $7,000 on the nightstand,
Mm.
which he didn't know she had $20, you know?
Oh.
And she says, son, I want you to go build it. Go do it again.
Mm.
And he said, ma'am, I'm going to pay you back tenfold. She said, you don't have to. And he said, okay, but I'm going to. And so my dad took $7,000 in 1991 or 92 and turned it into the 10th largest privately owned mortgage company in the United States in the year 2000. 10 years.
That's freaking awesome. That is an awesome story.
And you know how he did that? With
Too
God.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, with God. There's no doubt. And my dad followed what Mamaw said. And they talked every day. They talked all the time. And she was his rock. She was his rock, you know, and unfortunately, years later, and the story definitely changes. When Mamaw passed away, my dad's faith drifted.
Sure.
And so I'm not here to talk bad about my dad or talk crap on him, but he's just not the same as he used to be. I wish he was in a different spot, and I'm not trying to say I'm better because I've been way worse, but I can see through him what it was like with God and without.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that lesson.
Well,
you know,
you're in a position now to potentially alter that course for him. So you keep, you probably have a purpose in that. So
yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah. So great story about him, and I'm very proud of what he did.
Yeah, that's a rags to riches for sure, man. And that's just, gosh, yeah, that's it. That's the American dream, man. Just putting your head down, back against the wall and then fighting and going.
Yeah,
and nothing, man. I'm going to tell you the power of a praying mom, wife, grandma. It's something about the women of God, man. They just got that bat line straight to his ear, and it's every time when I'm in despair, I'm like, I call my wife, I call my mother-in-law, my mom, and the gal who does our accounting for us with the med spas, and I'm like, I need you guys to pray for me. I don't call any of my dude friends. I call something about a praying woman, man. It's crazy. So that's
powerful. Yeah.
Okay. So back to you. So high school. So you get out of high school. That's pick up from there.
Yeah. So, we're having fun, just being teenagers, man. And we were just not crazy reckless, but we were just having fun. There's no responsibilities. I think we had one bill, maybe a pager bill, $8.99 a month, I think that was it. But life was easy. Life was great. Didn't get into any real trouble. No DWIs, no, I wasn't involved with drugs. Pot, I didn't like pot. That's how I didn't smoke marijuana. I called it pot, right? That's when right. People call it pot, they smoked it in the 70s. Yeah. But but I just didn't enjoy that. Didn't do much for me. And then about the year 2000 or so, we had a friend who worked at a store in the mall, clothing store. And his manager was about 5 years older than us. And he would go to these bars where I'd never heard of this before. You're going to laugh now because it's very common. But I never knew that people used to get really dressed up in like suits and gowns and go to a nightclub. I'd never and drive a nice car. And so when he turned 21, his 5-year-older boss took him to one of these nightclubs. And he goes, Shawn, it was the craziest thing, man. It was the most prettiest girls in St. Louis were all in one place. And they were all dressed to the nines. The guys were wearing like suit coats and I showed up to my manager's house and he said, you can't wear that in there. So he had to wear his clothes to get into this place. There was a line out front, to get in. And I've never seen anything like it, never heard anything like it. And at this point, I'm 19 or 20 because he was 21. That's what it was. He waited till he was 21. And I said, well, I want to go. And he said, well, when you turn 21, we'll take you. Dude, I couldn't wait that whole year. Oh, man. 1 year, because I was hanging out with these kids that were a year older than me. Yeah. And for 1 year, boy, and I went on my birthday. And That was it. I fell in love with the scene,
The nightlife.
the nightlife, this exclusivity thing. Because here's the thing that we didn't know at the time, but this long line down the sidewalk of people way prettier than us, way better looking than us, better dressed than us, were waiting in line, and we walked in with the manager, and
Yeah.
he got us right in. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, man. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time, but he was a drug dealer. And that's how he was able to get past the line. You know, he would give
Absolutely.
drugs to the door guy and we'd get
Yeah.
right in. And so I had no idea who I was rolling with at the time, you know, but I thought everybody liked me. For me, no, it's because I was friends with the drug dealer, man, you know? And it just introduced me to this whole other world I didn't know existed. But I was already hooked, you know, on the scene itself.
Sure.
The insecure kid, right? The little 83-pound freshman was now walking past the line to get into this exclusive club and have all these pretty girls be able to talk to me, or I can talk to them. That never happened in my life.
Right.
And so, you know, drugs came with that, you know, ecstasy, cocaine, they were very prevalent in that scene. And it was, unfortunately, it was game over for me on the first visit. I knew, like, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people say, I know what I want to do for the rest of my career. No, that's what I wanted to do. Like, that's all I cared about.
Right.
And I revolved everything around it. And I got my other friends. I'm like, you guys gotta see this place. You don't
Yeah.
even know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it opened up, you know, about a 20-year drug addiction.
Mm.
Yeah, because I was 20. Let's see, I'm 49. I've got 7 years of sobriety as of today. And so
Today
yeah,
for 7 years?
no, not today.
I
Sorry.
was
But
okay.
as of this
Yeah.
moment, I'm just
Yeah.
started my 7th year about a month and a half ago.
Good for you.
And amen to that. And but yeah, so it was about 20 years, man. And all my other friends dabbled in it, and then they'd get back to reality and say that's crazy, and I just kept going. You know, I would change. Oh, you guys don't find this cool anymore? I'll find other friends that do. And
Uh-huh.
I kept upgrading my friends until they started downgrading my
Yeah.
friends, you know. And but I was in. I was in. And so you know, I worked for the family business since 1998. And because of being the owner's son, I was able to get away with stuff that other employees wouldn't. You know, and then it graduated to me owning the family business, and I hired a guy to run the business, you know, basically,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And unfortunately, the family business is no longer open, and I'm a major part of that, you know. And so we've had all the success in the world, and then you know, I stepped in, and it wasn't in a great spot when I got it. I can't blame it all on that. It didn't help,
Yeah.
but it's really, I don't have a leg to stand on when I say, well, I was 100% a drug addict and I'm going to blame the previous owner. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have a leg to stand on,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how
So let's
much in
back
depth
up.
I need to go
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's back up. So
Yeah.
you start working. Did you go to any college at all? Did you start working right in the family business right out of high school? Pretty
Well,
much.
I tried college. It wasn't for me. I wasn't, you know, they didn't take attendance. So I didn't go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it turns out your grades don't show real well when you do that.
Right.
So I had a hard time in high school. You know, I just struggled with it all.
With
Definitely
being there or
ADD,
with learning yeah, with
learning, being there. You know, I have since found out I'm not dumb. I just I couldn't retain anything. It was definitely ADD, ADHD. You know, we didn't call it that back then. They just said you got bad grades, you know, and that was it.
You're stupid.
Yeah, you're
So,
stupid.
yeah. But knowing you, the bit that I do now, the entrepreneurial,
Hmm.
hustler that you have you always had that spirit about you? Because it sounds, it's probably some genetics there. Your dad obviously
Yeah.
had it. You've seen that, but even do you recall even as far back as a kid having a hustle
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, like a lot of kids, I sold, you know, blow pops at school, now and
Okay.
laters. I did
Yeah.
that. And then when I first started like doing bigger things, I think I was 14 or 15, and I sold my sister's car for like $800 profit. And my dad was like, what? You did what? Like, he was like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
my
we're on the
kid's
same
got
page.
it, you
Yeah,
know? And I used to buy, remember those auto traders they used to
yeah,
have at 7-Eleven for
yeah,
$1.25 or
for
99
sure.
cents? I would buy them and I would circle the ones that were a deal. I was like,
Mhm.
that's a deal. And my intention was, Dad, oh, you need to go buy this car. We're going to go sell it. We never did that, but every week I would do it. You know, I was obsessed. I was obsessed with cars. And so I would always tell him, and he'd be like, no, we're not buying a car. You know, he just had zero interest in cars, but probably could have made him a few bucks or lost him a few
Yeah,
bucks. But I was for sure that these were good deals. But I had that mindset of this is a great price. You could probably get them down and we could sell. You know, at 14, 15, my mind was working like that. So yeah,
yeah.
I've always kind of had that. I'm sure you too, right?
Yep.
You
Yep.
like that?
It's
Yeah.
funny because I started. It's funny you talk about selling candy. So I went to an all boys Catholic high school here in Kansas City, and we had I had a work study program as part of my scholarship. I had to work in the mornings and sweep the gym. So I had access to the school keys, and I stole the master key to the whole school, every single door in the school. And I used to go into the concession stand in the gym where the basketball area gym, and I would steal candy and fill up my bag, and then I would go sell candy out of my locker all day. And then those were to the like lame kids that were buying candy. And then I had a fanny pouch with weed in it, and I was selling weed. I was selling dime bags to the cool kids. So I'm selling down laters and dime bags. So yeah, that started way back in high school. But yeah, I always had some kind of hustle and flow for sure.
What
Um,
was your first like bigger step in sales or
uh,
hustle?
you
Well,
mean like
I
like
guess
legit
weed.
legit
I
sales
guess weed.
or yeah, I mean
Yeah, yeah,
weed was good. Probably the car business. When I first
yeah,
when I ended up running away from home, dropping out of high school and all that, and I ended up getting a job in the car business, and I had to wait till it's how I know how long I've been in the business because I had to wait. He hired me and said I got to be 18, so I came back when I turned 18, which is in November, and so yeah, November every year is my car anniversary. 28 years this year in the car business.
wow,
So when you say the Auto Trader publication, I remember dating way back when I had to sit with the Auto Trader rep to determine what cars I wanted to put in the magazine that week. Then she would go out there with her freaking Polaroid camera and take pictures of the cars, and then they would go scan them, and it was
yeah.
prehistoric, but much different now, right? Okay,
But
so
I just
tell me,
realized. Hold on, I just
yeah,
realized we're gonna reconnect. Our stories are gonna realign here in a second
okay,
because you in the car business. I was never in the car business, but when my dad was building this company, he would go hire the top salesmen from all the car dealerships and bring them into mortgages and show them how you can make more money.
it
And
was
they'd be
always
inside off the lot. And these guys were, as you know,
yes.
assassins, man,
Dude, it was
killers,
always it was always like if a guy quit the car business, he was going to mortgages, and then
mortgages,
mortgages would dry
or
up,
come
rates would
back.
go up,
Yeah,
and they come back. And car guys and mortgage guys are the same people, man.
it's the
Same
same
people.
guy,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah,
fuel up on Red Bull and cigarettes and cocaine, and then go back to work, grind out, make 25, 30 grand in a month, and then go
yeah,
MIA for 2 weeks of the next month.
yeah.
And that's
Well,
the cycle.
what's funny is, so I would go to work. Well, I
Yeah,
shouldn't say I would go to work in an office in a suit and tie Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends it was go downtown to the nightclubs and just party like crazy. And I loved it because we were at downtown was like our downtown was run down and there was nothing down there on these streets other than two nightclubs in the middle of
yeah.
these all abandoned buildings. And one time we were in there and I saw two of my dad's employees and I'm like, oh crap, I'm high as a kite in here, you know. So these guys are in here and this place is dead empty. There's only like 20 people in here and there's two of them in here. And so I'm freaking out. And finally I'm telling my friends, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. And finally one of the guys comes up to me and at the office they call me Shawnee
Yeah.
because I was the young kid,
Uh-huh.
and he goes, hey Shawnee, are you here for the same reason we're here? And I looked at him and he goes, looks at my pupils. He goes, yep. And I was like, "Oh, okay. So I'm not in trouble." He's like, "No,
Yeah.
you don't tell your dad. I won't tell your dad." But he was
Yeah.
a former car guy, man.
Yeah, I love it. That's how that shit works. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you're in, and tell me about your financial success in the company. how quickly did that start happening? And how much of it, obviously you had to work and you started making your own money. Like at what point did you start making your own paycheck and you're starting to
Okay.
really make some dough?
Well, one thing I want to back up on that is, my dad did something really special for me that I hated at the time, and I'm glad he did. Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Is when I first started, he gave me the option to be a loan officer, which was 100% commission. If not, I'll put you in the marketing department, which is a very entry level position. Well, I was too afraid of 100% commission, and I think he was afraid of me jumping in with these master salesmen and failing miserably and being discouraged. So we decided to put me in the salary position. And on day one, well, first he had to go buy me 2 suits. I didn't even own a suit. So we go in there and I'm, wearing a very JCPenney-ish suit.
Yeah.
Um, and uncomfortable shoes. Man, I got blisters first day. I'm like, what is this? And I go into the first day and he says, hey, real quick. And he comes in and pulls me in an office and closes the door. And he says, I just want to let you know, everyone here is going to hate you. You're the lowest paid person in the entire company. And you got to be the first one in tomorrow morning to turn all the lights on. And you don't leave until everyone's gone. You turn all the lights off.
Good stuff.
And I'm thinking, I signed up for this.
Yeah.
This sounds
Right.
like the worst job ever.
Yeah.
And it was 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I thought, boy, those are long hours. I thought I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And so, and he was right though. Everybody was super nice to me because I was the owner's son. But then you can tell,
Oh, yeah.
like you
Oh, yeah.
guys. But I had some people who were really nice and genuinely cared. But a lot of people were like, "Yeah, you're a freaking owner's son." But I am grateful for that because it did instill a lot in me, and he didn't have to do that. I would probably spoil my daughter and not do that today, even, just because she's a girl and I spoil her.
Yeah.
So it's probably a reminder I need to tighten up a little bit. So
Right.
thanks, Dad. But, after about a year in the marketing department, I started seeing the sales guys, the old car guys, they were pulling in Corvettes, BMWs. And I'm like, what do those guys do?
Yeah.
And that's when my dad's like, I'm telling you, it's 100% commission. That means if you don't sell anything, you don't get paid anything. You could work a whole month or two and have $0 for it. So I started sitting in
There's
on
an old
there.
saying. There's an old saying. Let's see. I sell for bread and meat. If I don't sell, I don't eat.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's it. Now, I didn't have a family or anything, but I was still really mentally immature, But I started going in and asking the guys questions, and they said, "Why are you asking all these questions, man?" I said, "I don't know. I'm kind of considering doing it." And they go, "It's so easy, man. You can do it. Trust me." And I'm thinking, "Oh, but I don't have sales experience." I just kept saying, "I don't have this experience." And finally, they said, "Sit in my appointments." So I started sitting in, and I'm like, "This does seem really easy." And so after about 6 months of just staring and doing all that, I told my dad, "I think I'm ready to try it." He's like, "Okay, great. If you're ready, let's go." So a few weeks later, they put me in an office upstairs, and they had this hallway. Each branch had like 10 offices, and I had the only one that didn't have a side light, which was one of those glass windows to peek in the office. Mine was just a solid door. It just happened to be the one I was given.
Mhm.
And so he puts me in there, and he's like, "Okay, when this phone rings, you answer it." I'm like, "Okay, what do I do then?" He said, "Just answer it." The phone rings, I answer it, he walks out, and I'm like, "Hello?" The customer's like, "Is this American Equity Mortgage?" I said, "Yes." And they're like, "We need," and I didn't know anything, zero training.
Right.
And they end up hanging up on me. And I'm like, what the heck? And so, my dad was gone. He went downstairs, went to another floor, whatever. At this point, we had like 3 floors in a building, it was a good sized company at this point. And so, anyways, I'm in there, and the manager who he gave me to was probably like, "Man, I got the freaking owner's son with zero experience in here. This sucks."
Right.
And so I just started going in, listening to people, but I learned the hardest way possible was just failure. I kept failing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if his intention was to do it that way or if he was really just busy and forgot I was up there, got sidetracked.
Dumb
Who
luck.
knows? Some girl called him. Who knows? Um, but it ended up working out okay. And I used to get really hard on myself and say, man, I'm always like 7th or 8th out of 10 every month. I can never be number one. And I was like, I told my dad, I said, I think I'm going to quit. I'm never number one. I want to be number one. And he's like, Shawn, you went in with zero experience and these guys have been selling for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're top salespeople. I hired all the best salespeople and you're competing.
Yeah.
You don't understand.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay. So I'm doing okay. And so, but that's when I went from like 25,000 salary to I was making almost 100,000 at age 23, 24.
Yeah.
That was big money, man.
20 years ago.
I
20 years ago, that's a lot of money.
especially 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was, is if I made 100, I spent 105. And, I was the average salesperson, man, just blowing through it and telling all my friends, I can afford that. I make 100K a year.
Yeah.
Like a total douchebag. I'm blowing 105 a year, man. We are upside down on everything. And so, but that, as you know, for a salesperson, that created that I got to come back. I got to come back. I got to make the money. Got to make the money. And it just made that desire to make more there. And so,
you start equating all the things that you want to how many more deals you got to close. Like, I want to.
yeah, that's only another deal a month.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For the rest of my life. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're exactly right. But no, it was fun, man. I had my best 3 years in business of workplace ever was those 3 years as a loan officer, 100% commission. I was part of the camaraderie now, right? I was getting accepted. What's that?
You made your bones. You made your
Yeah.
bones.
Yeah. They saw, okay, this kid just isn't handed everything. He's in here working. And then they thought I was getting free leads. I'm like, oh, dude, the training I got was horrendous. It was zero. And then I started going out drinking with the guys. Then we bonded, right? And then that's when I found out drugs was involved with the commission guys pretty heavily at that time. And it was kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street movie, not as crazy, but there was some similarities there that I could relate to when I watched that movie. I'm sure you did too. Good, bad, and fun, crazy memories. But, man, I met some great people, but, they tried to protect me. Okay, you can party a little bit, but then you got to go home because we're about to get crazier.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to know what was going on in there. I'm interested in the crazier.
Yeah.
I'm still that 83-pound freshman, man. I'll do it. I'll get attention because now I'm 23 or 24 hanging out with 30-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And what's crazy is, we had our company Christmas party in December, and I'd been hanging out with these guys for 6 months, drinking every night, doing everything. And at the Christmas party, they're like, "Hey, Shawnee, I want you to meet my wife." I'm like, "Wife?
Wait.
Who's the girlfriends you've been hanging out with?"
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was like every other month was a shock. I can't, and I'm going back telling my high school buddies these stories, and they're like, "That's not true." I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, it is crazy. These stories I have, but, it was wild. But, anyways, again, I don't regret any of it. I regret, obviously I shouldn't say any of it. I regret some of my actions for sure. Selfishness, but the history of it all, like, I had a lot of great experiences, but I
man,
also had to go through that.
There's a ton of formation in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of had to go through that because I always had this itch of wanting more, but like, I don't know how to describe it. There was, if I didn't, I would be chasing it still.
I know exactly.
Trying to find that thing.
It's the lack of fulfillment. You were looking for fulfillment, and then you were trying. The
purpose.
The dopamine hits. Are the temporary resolution for that is
right.
And you start chasing those hits. One after another, and obviously drugs helps that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so all right. What was your biggest year in the mortgage business? What was your biggest financial year?
For me personally, about 200,000.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, all right. So as mortgages start tapering off, and you're, at what point do you start separating? Okay. So hold on. So when did you take over the family business? What year was that?
Yeah. So you brought up American Equity Mortgage, which was business number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the owners of that was actually my dad and his his wife, which was my stepmom.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, they had a really bad divorce, which was all over the papers. It was terrible for both of them, and they split, and the fight was over who really owned the business, right? And it came down to one of these piece of paper,
Oh
one
man.
sheet.
Yeah.
So remember, he went to Mamaw and they prayed, and she paid $7,000, but he had went bankrupt, right? So he had to put the lease in someone's name, the copier in someone's name, and
Yeah.
he put it in his girlfriend's name at the time.
Womp womp. Here, I think I have that.
Well, well, yes and no. I want to be clear. She helped build that business.
Sure.
Zero doubt. I want to give her all the credit. Even though she probably doesn't like me today, that's okay. I give her all the credit in the world. They both together, and everyone knew this, man. They were a machine. He was a master salesman and she was a CPA, so good with the numbers. He was like me. He'd want to spend it all, you
Yeah.
know, and he
Mm-hmm.
would have if it wasn't for her. But she
Yeah.
was the brains and he was the muscle, man.
Yeah.
And together they built the machine. They really did. And so I give her all the credit. But unfortunately, she ended up getting awarded the business. He got awarded a bunch of money, and they split. And so when that happened, the whole time me and my dad thought he was going to get the business, American Equity Mortgage, and he didn't. And it was kind of a shock. We were like, wow, And I think they went to court for like 4 years, man. 4 years. I think they fought over a year for the business, but then afterwards there was all these lawsuits. It was pretty nasty. But we were kind of in shock, like, well, shit. Sorry, shoot.
Yeah.
What should we do? And
Exactly. Shit.
yeah, back then I was saying, yeah. And he said, man, I don't know. He said, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I'm like, me? I have no idea. All I know is mortgages. And he's like, oh, after that mess, that's the last thing I want to do. And I was like, okay. He said, well, what are you interested in? I said, Ferraris. I want to sell Ferraris. He said, have you ever sold one? I said, no. He said, okay, we're not selling Ferraris. I
Smart
said,
move,
no.
Dad. Smart move.
Yeah, no, just jump straight to the most expensive car.
But hold on, I
But
think there is a Ferrari dealership in St. Louis, isn't there? Or
there is one.
yeah,
Well, there's
Bentley. I know there's Bentley.
Bentley. What do they have? Lamborghini.
Yeah, yeah.
Lamborghini Bentley, yeah. But anyways, he says, well, think about it. So I said, okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? And at this point, I was really resentful at my stepmom. Now that I'm more mature, I realize they're both at fault for things, but whatever, that's none of my business. But I was like, she stole the business, which is not true, but that's what I was saying.
Shit, I didn't even mean to hit that. That's hilarious.
These are good. These are good sound effects. And
hold on, let me just say something funny. I moved my mic stand, and I have this up on the mic stand. That fell off the mic stand and hit
the button.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Good job, Jesus.
That was meant to be.
You're hired.
Baby Jesus coming through.
Jesus hired, yeah. My producing staff,
yeah.
Baby Jesus.
So anyways, what was I saying? What do you want to do? So I come back the next day. I'm like, all right, I thought about it. And he's like, okay, what do you want to do? I'm like, they drug your name through the mud in the newspapers and da. We're going to open a company right across the street, and we're going to call it Ray Vinson Mortgage, and it's going to be in blinking neon lights flashing across the street. And he says, son, have you learned nothing what I just went through? Like, that would bring more lawsuits. I don't want anything to do with it. I said, okay. And so we talked about it some, and I said, honestly, I don't know. Mortgages is the only thing I know. I didn't go to school. And I kind of enjoyed it. And he said, well, I mean, I don't want to, but if you really want that, and if you want to get an office set up, if you want to set it all up, I'll help you fund it. I'm like, okay. So in 45 days, I had an office lease, a sign on the wall, had the corporation set up, and we were in business. Vinson Mortgage is what we called it. And he's like, oh, I can't believe we're doing this. He had zero interest in it.
Right.
And so this was in 2006. 2006. And so we opened, we wanted to go big, man, big, more money, right?
Yeah.
And we opened Las Vegas, Miami, Missouri, Kansas City. We opened 5, Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, other than Kansas City and St. Louis, the 2 worst markets that, or 3 worst markets that were hit in the '08 crash.
Yeah.
Well, 2 big markets were Florida and Vegas. And so we had 2 branches, 2 or 3 branches in Florida and 1 in Vegas, and boy, just wiped us out. Um, so, lost a couple $1 million right there that, hurt a lot. And so at that point, my dad's like, all right, what do we want to do? I'm like, well, again, I don't know anything else,
Right.
so we narrowed it just down to St. Louis and Kansas City and said, these are actually profiting and we're well established here. We were trying to go into new markets. Let's ride this out and let's just see. And so we did. And so we started in 2008 and had a good run for a while, did well. And unfortunately, my dad's driver was to get back at the old company.
Sure.
Mamaw had passed away. My dad's faith was drifting away, and I didn't see it at the time, but we were having fun. And it was shortly after that time, we started going to Lake of the Ozarks a lot. That's where I met you.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was on top of the world, man. I'm young, single, got a couple nice boats down there. My dad bought a really nice lake house, which he was never at. Everybody thought it was my house. It was
Yeah.
great, you know. And people still ask, "Hey, you still got your lake house?" I said, "No, my dad does not have his house anymore." I can be honest now.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, careless fun. We'd work hard at the office, then we'd go to the lake on the weekends. And then as my addiction started really growing into an addiction, the weekends would turn into go down Thursday, come back Monday. And then, next thing you know, I'm down there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, they're calling me for decisions. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Proving things I probably shouldn't, taking risks, being careless. And so, my dad was still involved until about the last 2 years. So around 2016. And again, my dad handled all the finances. I never saw it. I just knew my checks were getting deposited in my account and things were okay. And then one day he just says, "Hey, I think I'm gonna close the business." I'm like, you got the record?
Yeah.
Record
Yeah.
stop. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
that. It all stopped. I said, what do you mean close the business? He's like, yeah, we've been losing money for a long time. What? And he said, yeah. He said, I don't have an interest in it. I'm burnt out. You and Kevin, my brother-in-law, you guys are there running it. And he didn't even know I wasn't even there half the time running it, He was pretty far removed, but he said, I'm just not going to keep funding it. And that was the first time I had heard that he was funding it. I thought we were making money. On the sales side, it looked good, but expense-wise, no. And I said, I don't understand. I said, well, when are you talking about doing this? He's like, tomorrow.
Oh boy.
I'm like, tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we have built this on that we are a family business. We got some employees from the old company because they didn't like the way things went down, and we treated everyone like family. At least we tried to. And we had about 200 employees, if I had to guess, something like that. I just couldn't believe it. And I said, so I go to my brother-in-law, Kevin, and I share with him, and he's like, oh, that's just you and your dad fighting like you do sometimes. You guys will get over it. I said, this one's different, man. I'm telling you, he was dead serious. And I said, why don't we buy him out? I didn't have much money, hardly any at all, to be honest. And but my brother-in-law Kevin was the opposite of me. He saved every nickel, packed his lunch. I'm the other guy, total opposite ends. But we were similar to my dad and my stepmom. His brain and my
Yeah.
brain were so different, and we made a good pair.
Yeah.
Um, and so, anyways, we went to a local bank. Well, first I went to my dad and I said, well, how much do you want? He said, $5 million. I said, $5 million. He said, well, what do you think it's worth? I said, honestly, I have no idea, but we don't own assets. There's no building, and it's a famous phone number and a website and a book of clients. and furniture and computers. I mean, honestly, that's it. I said, I'm not trying to shortcut you or cut you down by any means, but let's be realistic. And so he said, I'll take 3 million, but that's the lowest I'll go. It's that or I'm closing it down. So I'm like, so I just started calling banks, man. And I met with 10 banks. They all said no. The 11th bank said, yeah, I guess I met with 11 banks. We met with the 11th bank, and or at least one of the banks out of the group said, we'll do it, but we want you to personally guarantee it. And they tied everything I owned, all my, I had a couple rental properties, the house I was living in, cars, my brother-in-law, same thing. And they put liens on everything, and they gave us the, actually, they said, we'll give you $1 million, but you got to personally guarantee everything. Okay. So we did that, and gave my dad the $1 million, and he may not remember it this way, but he also, the night of the closing, took cash out of the account, and on day one we couldn't make payroll to our 200 employees.
Oh shit.
And we're like, what just happened, dude? Last week we were employees, now we're owners, and this got bamboozled. Like, what? Now it's hard for me to say that because my dad gave me so much, and you saw, he bought us boats, cars, like gifts that you don't. It was crazy, crazy times. So I'm grateful for all that. So I'm trying so hard not to say anything negative, but it was a shock of what happened. And for those of you that, or for those of my friends that know me, me and my dad were like best friends, dude. People thought we were brothers, because he got new hair, he got his face done, he looked young, man, new teeth. Is that your older brother? And he'd love hearing that.
Yeah.
But we were together all the time. And so it was such a shock that it just happened so quick,
Yeah.
And, but anyway, so we were like, okay, well, we got to figure this out. So we also found out there was 1.2 million in marketing debt that was over 120 days past due. And as you know, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I went to Channel 5. I went to Fox Sports and one of the local radio stations. And I had to have meetings with all of them. And they all loved my dad because he spent millions in advertising, as you know, for years and years and years. So he was on a pedestal. He was one of their top guys. And I said, like I'm telling you, I said, I got to have a really uncomfortable conversation. But here's the situation of the company. I brought financials. This is where we're at. It's embarrassing to show this. This is where we're at. I'm now the owner. Ray's gone. And you have to work with me. And they were like, well, what are you asking? And I'm really proud I did this. I said, most of the time, people in this situation come in and they negotiate for pennies on the dollar to settle it. I don't even have that. But what I will do is pay you 100% of what I owe you if you'll work with me. I promise you. I said, how so? I need at least 20% I shot higher. I was still negotiating. I said, I need at least 50% of the ads you're running, and you can bill me on it, and I'm going to slowly start making payments, but the payments will start 30 days. And right now we can afford 0. And they said, well, that's a horrible deal for us. I said, well, you either get 0, and also so does Channel 5, and also so does Fox Sports, or because I'm going to them next, and I need all 3 of you to do this. I've canceled every other marketing source. These are our top 3 that work for us. If you work with us, I'll pay you back every dollar. And in a year and a half, we did. Paid them all back, all 3. And so then it was like, man, we did it. We did it, And it was like we were rolling again. We're doing good. We're feeling good. And because of the business transition, and I'm getting into a lot of these details I've never shared before, but because of the way we did the business transition in the mortgage world, because we were FHA approved lender, you have to have a minimum net worth, right? And it's based on the volume of loans you did the year before. So the year before, when we were spending millions of dollars that my dad was funding, the volume was high, so our net worth had to be high. And then I came in with no money, and I had this high net worth requirement, and I had no assets and no net worth.
Yeah.
So we were operating illegally under FHA guidelines. and kind of unknowingly at first. And then we had to get our HUD audit every year, and that's like $30,000. So we paid that. That was a struggle. Like, here's a fee we didn't expect. And they came in and were like, man, you guys are not good, you know?
Squirrels. They're squirrels.
Yeah. And we're like, what are you talking about? You know? And so, uh, but they were trying to shut us down that day, but FHA was 85% of our business. So we were done. And so, but what we did is, um, they sued us, we countersued, and we just kept litigating, delaying, trying to do the best we could for about 2 years until finally they called us in and they were like, "This is it." And so we had to go to Washington D.C. into the federal courthouse, and the HUD office was one floor above the courthouse. I'm like, "Oh, these guys are all friends. You know, we are
Yeah.
cooked." We saw it on the thing on the directory. We're like, "Dude, we
Yeah.
are cooked," and we were cooked. And so they basically shut us down, and so they wanted us. Now, mind you, at this point, we were down to you know peanuts trying to keep this thing alive, and my addiction was at almost at an all-time high, but it was up there, partying quite a bit, and living that crazy lifestyle, trying to run a business, and then had all these issues. Was too embarrassed to tell employees of the relationship with me and my dad and the situation we were left in, and everyone loves my dad. I can't talk crap on my dad, and so that just led my addiction a little deeper. I was trying to hide those feelings and bury it. And but anyway, so what we settled on was they said, well, we'll settle for $1 million and you lose your license for 2 years. And I'm like, well, if we lose it for one day, I mean we're done anyways. But we don't have $1 million. And so we ended up settling for $100,000 fine with a payment plan because we didn't even have that. And so we had to pay, me and my brother-in-law both had to pay that within 12 months. And we paid it on the
100 grand
12th, 50 grand each, but
each. Okay.
combined 100.
Uh-huh.
And so I went overnight from top of the world, 7,000 square foot house, 6-car garage, boats, cars, all the toys that the selfish little boy wanted, and that was striving to fill him up with purpose, to overnight gone. Chains
Yeah.
on the door. Had to move into a 2-bedroom apartment quickly before our credit ran down. So I hurry up, sign on. We just moved out of this real quick and locked down an apartment because my credit was getting ready to just tank overnight.
Single at the time too, right?
No, I had I left out a major important part, my wife and my
Yeah.
daughter,
Oh, so
and we'll touch on that.
You and Nina were together at this time.
We were together. We were
Okay.
dating. We had, I believe, I should know this. We just gotten married. Yeah, we were married. Just gotten married. And
So
she's one of those women.
I didn't realize that Nina was around for your addiction.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I
man.
thought she was part of your recovery.
Well, she really
Yeah,
was
yeah,
for
she was.
sure.
But I mean, I thought that maybe
Yeah.
afterward you got cleaned up and then met her. Okay, so
Yeah.
she'd been around for the darkness.
And at the worst of it,
Yeah.
when I first met her, and interject if I'm talking too much, man. This feels
No, I'm
good to get
loving
it
it. Yeah,
out.
it's good.
It's
It's
good.
good. It's flowing
Yeah, it's
good.
therapy. This is the best therapy session yet. And I first met her, the business was struggling, but I was still, running Vincent Mortgage, and she worked at a place called Elephant Bar. It was a restaurant right by my office, and we could go there for lunch real quick, sit at the bar because there was never anybody there for lunch. We weren't even drinking. Just quick lunch, get back to the office. Quick lunch, get back to the office. And one day, the bartender that would always service there, Nina walked by, and I go, "Who's that?" And she goes, "Oh, she's not your type." I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, she's really sweet. She's nice, super kind." And I'm like, "What do you mean, not my type?" And she's like, "Well, you always come in here and complain about, the girl you just got dumped by or whatever. She's mean or whatever. She sounds
Yeah.
nothing like all these girls you date." I'm like, "Well, that sounds attractive to me,
Yeah, right.
actually." And man, dude, I was, again, the guy who was not afraid to go up to girls at this point in my life now was terrified. And I was trying to flirt, and I think she thought something was wrong with me, man. I couldn't talk, and she's working, she's busy. And I'm like trying to stop her and chit chat. She's like, this guy's weird. And so my version is I've asked her out 7 times, and she's like, I think it was like 2. But those other times, she didn't even know what I was trying to say, man. It was terrible. It was so bad. But I just kept going up there, every day for lunch, and I'd see her, and finally, I asked her out one time, and she's like, sorry, I can't, and then she'd just take off again. Well, that's a nice no. It was such a nice no, is it really a no? And I'm going home like, does she really mean it? And so finally I asked her, I said, I'm going to ask you out one more time. If I'm bothering you, just let me know, because I feel like I've asked you out a couple times and you're really nice. Is it a real no? Just tell me no. Like I need this hard no. She stopped, like, okay, well, you always come in and you always ask, can I go out tonight? That answer is always no. I'm busy. I work 7 days a week. I go to school full time, and you usually ask me out on a Tuesday or Thursday for some reason. But on Thursdays, I take my grandma and her friends to the casino, and I'm like, who are you? You sound like an angel. This is
I
great.
know, right?
Yeah. And I said, okay, you're right. I said, how about 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now? Any day of the week, would you possibly be free any day of the week at any time? And she kind of laughed, and she's like, yeah, we'll figure something out. I'm like, yeah.
That was a yes.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
a hard maybe. Yeah. And so but man, it was great. We went out. She had just graduated college, so she's younger than me. She's 15 years younger than me, way more mature than me. And her and her friends are just graduating. Ballpark Village had just got built, which was kind of like your Power and Light area,
Yep.
and it was the coolest thing on earth. So they were going down there getting drunk. I was going down there getting drunk. I blended in with the young college kids, man. And they were just about having fun. So I blended in real easy. And we would go out till 11 o'clock or midnight. They'd go home and I'd go out. And that's when I would do the drugs and just keep going,
Yeah.
So I hid it from her, for a while, the best I could, and then there was one time she kind of caught me, and she's like, yeah, I'm not down with that, she's like, I don't ever want to see that. I'm like, okay. So I went back to hiding it.
Mhm.
And just blended in, and I was living this double life. We would go out, have a great date, it'd be romantic, it'd be nice, and I would try to only drink alcohol and not do drugs on a date. That's how
Mhm.
bad it was. Like, it was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I would have the drug dealer meet me in the middle of a date to bring me
Mhm.
drugs. And
Yeah.
she'd be like, man, you know people everywhere, but
Yeah.
I'm texting him under the table, and he's coming up, shaking my hand, putting drugs in my hand.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't go that long without.
Yeah.
And it had gotten to that point, and she just wasn't aware. She was kind of naive, number one, but number two, she just wasn't around that world and never knew to look for that,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially so brazen.
Same.
And
My wife was the same way. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and so on our let's see, well, we were dating for a couple months, and had a couple situations where she was like, I don't know about this guy, and we were only dating for about 5 months total, or I knew her for about 5 months, and she got pregnant.
No.
She got pregnant.
Yeah.
And so she stopped calling me for 2 days. And I'm thinking, what's going on? I'm calling, checking in, and not getting much back. And finally she calls, and she's like, hey, we need to have a talk. And I'm like, I know this one.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we're done. She's dumping me. I know
Yeah.
this move. So,
Yeah.
so she comes over to my house. I'm like, can I get you a glass of water? I'm like trying to be, what can I do to save this? And, cause I knew I loved her, man. And,
Yeah.
she's like, she's trying to tell me something, and I'm just waiting to hear, we're done. You're a jerk. You did this. Like, she caught me doing something I shouldn't have been doing. And, finally I just said, and for like 10 minutes, she's talking in circles, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Are you breaking up with me? She's like, no, Shawn, I'm pregnant. And I just, I froze for a second, and then I smiled real big. And she started crying. And she's just hugged me. She's like, I'm glad you smiled. She said, I didn't know what your reaction was going to be.
Mm.
She said, I'm really scared because I know you've been doing drugs. I just graduated college. I don't know what to do. And I squeezed her tight and I said, it's going to be okay. I said, I'm not going anywhere. And I don't want you going anywhere. And that was it. And we've been together ever since, you know. And I wish I could say, you know, the thought of her having a baby was enough for me to quit doing drugs. It wasn't. The threats of her leaving was not enough for me to quit doing drugs. You know, me walking in one day, her carrying our little baby and a bag on her shoulder, walking out, saying she's going to grandma's. I'm like, when you coming back? She's like, I'm not.
Mm.
That still wasn't enough for me to quit doing drugs. And for anyone who's an addict or struggles with anything like that, you know what I'm talking about. And to outside people, they're like, that's crazy. You know, what a jerk. Who would do that? Me as a good human, I wouldn't do that. But as an addict, I would. And I did. And so finally, she came back. We talked through things, and I went to actually, this is wild, dude. I forgot. There's so many turns in my story.
I love
A member of the Mexican mafia paid for me to go to treatment.
it. Stop it. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. A guy I ended up becoming friends with down at the lake through a girl I was dating years ago. Her girlfriend brought this guy, and man, we hit it off right away. Me and
Yeah,
this guy, we're
sure.
like, this guy's awesome, man. And then the next day we get on the boat, he takes his shirt off, and he's got
Yeah.
MS-13 all over him. I'm like, I know what that is, man.
Mhm.
But anyways, he ended up being a good friend to me. You know, he was a great guy. And so when he got clean and sober, you know, he did prison time. When he got clean and sober, he opened a treatment center. And I called him and I said, hey, man, this was when my wife was leaving. I said, I need help. I don't want to go to a outpatient. Do you have anything inpatient? He said, yeah. He said, just come in right now. And I'm like, I can't. I said, I need to know how much it costs. He's like, well, just come here. We'll talk about it. And so I go up there and he starts talking. I said, man, how much is this? Like, I don't have any money. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, well, I can't think without knowing. I need to know.
Yeah.
Just tell me. I'll figure out a way to pay you back, or I'll figure out a way to come up with the money. And then he said, no, I don't want anything. I just want you to come here. So, are you serious? He said, yeah. And so, so I did. So I did this inpatient treatment program, which worked temporarily because I worked it temporarily. And it helped me get my wife back and my kid back. And I'm like, okay, we're good now, right? And but I didn't want to go to recovery meetings. I didn't want to go to AA. I didn't want to do all that. I didn't want to be like those people in those rooms. I
Right.
wasn't
Yeah, these
interested in
people are
that.
backed up.
Yeah, man, you go in the room like, I don't want what you have. I'm not
Right.
interested. Yeah.
Right.
But I was very selfish, judgmental, and I didn't know that those guys were probably happier than me by far, you know. Um, but so I start using again because my wife said the thing I hated the most about those times was you lying about it. And I'm like, okay, so as a selfish addict, so if I don't lie, well, I'm good, right? That's what I'm telling myself. So I just start telling her, hey, remember that? I won't lie to you about it anymore. But tomorrow I'm gonna do drugs again. Just want you to know. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's already done. It's up here. The switch is on. It's happening. So I don't want to lie to you though.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like, that's still not okay, you know? And so I ended up doing that. And she's just kind of like, doesn't know what to do. And so that's going on for months. And it's, you know, it progresses, man. And it's just bad, bad, bad. And we have a newborn in the house. You know, she's sleeping upstairs. I'm having parties in the basement all night. Drugs all over the house with a newborn upstairs. Again, she's young. She's only
You have the
20.
business going at this point. You're
Had the
still
business going, still in the big house, and I'm
yeah.
rolling and money's flowing.
Yeah.
Um, And then, you know, I picked up my daughter one day, and I was jacked up. I was high. And the argument with my wife was like, she's a baby. She doesn't know. She'll never know. She doesn't know. I'll get clean. I'm just not ready yet. I'm just not ready yet. So I was giving her this false hope to hold on to, but just to push her, the addict was just pushing her away for the temporary moment. And, so I said, so I pick up my daughter and she couldn't say her R's yet. And she looked at me. She said, Daddy, your eyes look weird.
Oh. Oof.
Dude, that was it. That was what the final straw was for me. Was who am I fooling, man? I'm trying to live this double life. I'm putting on a suit and tie, even though I look like $1 million with the tie, but I feel like $1 bill.
Yeah.
And I can't fool a 2-year-old, bro. I can't fool a 2-year-old. She's looking right at my eyes.
Do you know what's so crazy about that, Shawn? That I heard I'll share my whole story with you later, but my moment in a hotel room one night, I had a camera hidden I had cameras hidden all over my house.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And I heard my wife crying on the camera, and my daughter, who was only 6 at the time, because my wife used to tell me, "You're here, but you're not here." I'm like, "What the hell is that Dr. Seuss shit? What do you mean? I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm present. My kids know I'm here. They know I love them. I'm involved." She's like, "No, you're not here, and you're a shell." And I'm just like, "Whatever." She's just picking a fight, right? And so anyway, and I'm at the house even when she kicked me out, I'm coming to the house every day to put them in bed, wake them up. I'm there every day. I'm literally. And that night or that morning, she's crying on the camera, and my daughter says, "Mommy, tell me what's wrong, and maybe I can make you feel better." And she said, I miss Daddy, baby." And she goes, "I know, Mommy, I miss Daddy too." And that wrecked me. Dude. That's where I lost it. I wrecked. I just started crying hysterically. So it's funny your voice and that. Yeah, same, man. That's
And so sometimes I share that story, and when I get to your eyes look weird, and my voice usually cracks or I cry very often. Because that's the thing. That is the thing, man. And if I think about that, it brings me right back. But what ended up working for me was, I said, I think I'm actually going to try this AA stuff, this recovery 12-step thing. Because my way ain't working anymore, man. It is not working. And, I need help.
So
And
walk us through that moment, because there are people that are going to listen to this, are going through something, and they're going to have that moment, and they need to know, because it's scary, right? In that moment, I remember that was part of my praying out loud to God. I was like, "God, how do I get my family back? Most importantly, I don't even know where to start." And it's a dawn when you start, like, the reality of facing all of that devastation and destruction and all that. So right in that moment, what was your first step?
Well, I called a guy who, his name's Jeff. I called this guy named Jeff, who I knew had about 20 years sobriety. And I remember when I first met him, he was tatted up, muscle guy. He looked like a big, hard partier. And I think I offered him a beer or an Adderall first time I met him. I can't remember. But, and he was like, "No, man," kind of laughed me off. Like, I don't do that. And I'm thinking, "You look like a biker, dude. You definitely look like you party, man." And he's like, "No, I got 20 years sobriety." And I remember that just hit me. I'm like, man, okay. And so fast forward, a couple years later, when it was ready, or when I was ready, I'm like, that's the guy. I'm gonna call him up. And so I called him, and he was my first sponsor. He's like, "Yeah, oh, I remember." He said, "I figured you'd call me one day, man. I'll never forget meeting you." And I was just, because I remember I was just so shocked, and I kept asking a bunch of questions at that time, and I'm like, "You're here at this house party?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't need that." And first time I knew you could have fun, because I would go to these AA meetings or NA meetings back home, and it was a glum lot, man. There was a lot of bored out of their mind people, and so I just didn't know you could have fun. And so, anyways, I called him up, and he's like, "Okay." He goes, "It's real simple, man. You ready?" I was like, "Yeah. I got pen and paper." All right. "Okay, what is it?" And he's like, "Go. Here's what I want you to do in the morning when you wake up. I want you to roll over onto the ground. Right. It's important. You fall right on your knees, right out of bed, man, so you don't forget. get on your knees and pray. He's like, do you know how to pray? I'm like, no. He's like, have you ever prayed before? I'm like, I mean, maybe. He's like, go ahead and try it right now. I go, in front of you? Right now? He's like, yeah, show me how you pray. Hi God. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think I've ever prayed before. And he's like, oh man. He's like, okay, that's okay. We'll figure it out. He's like, I just want you to pray for God's strength to help you get through the day. That's it. Can you do that? Do it right now. God, please help me get through the day. He said, yeah, it's easy. That's all you gotta do. Do it first thing in the morning on your knees and then call me. Can you do that? I'm like, yeah. I go, that's it? That's all I gotta do to get sober? He's like, that's all we're gonna do today.
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
okay, that sounds easy, man. I'm thinking I don't got to go to those meetings. I got to do. It's gonna be great. This guy's awesome, man. He's fun at parties. And so the next morning, man, I'm like, all right, let's call Jeff. So I call him. Jeff, good morning. What's up? He's like, hey, buddy, did you pray? Oh man, I forgot. Click. He hangs up on me, bro.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I'm like, dang, I guess this guy's legit. I better pray. Hey God, what was I supposed to say? Forget. Help me. Okay. Call him back. Did you pray? What'd you say? I said, God help me. He's like, okay, well, we'll start with that. And, but he showed me, I came from, even though my dad was raised so close by Mama, I didn't go to church. We didn't talk about it. I didn't know anything about Jesus, God. I didn't know if they were I didn't know they were different people. I thought it was the same. I didn't know anything. And even today, I'm very, and you know this, I'm still new and I'm learning a lot. Um, but he was the first guy that showed me how to do the basics, and I didn't believe in it, but I was doing it.
Sure.
And so, my life was a wreck on day one. When I first called him, I was crying. I had snot coming out of my nose. I'm so desperate for help. My wife, my daughter. Not only am I broke, I'm less than broke. I have
Yeah.
no job and I owe the government 50 grand in 12 months. I don't know how that's going to happen. I got lawsuits coming. It was crazy. The foreclosure, the bankruptcy, all those legal letters coming in the mail. And so when I told him that whole story, he's like, so what's the biggest thing that's bothering you? I'm like, this debt. I don't know how I'm going to pay this debt back or how I'm going to. He's like, well, can you pay for it right now? Is there enough in your account? I said, dude, did you not hear me? I have nothing. He's like, cool. Like, cool. He's like, yeah. He goes, if you can't fix it today, then cool. Don't worry about it today. Okay.
Mm.
What are you doing worrying about something that's a year from now? You got to come up with 50 grand in a year. You're worried about that now. Okay. Cool. We're not going to worry about that today. Okay. I don't understand that, but we'll try it. And he just taught me, here's what I want you to do. Just pray for the things that are bothering you to have God help you with them, help you with the stress, the thoughts, the worries, the fears, and a solution. And that's it. Sounds simple? Like, yeah, whatever. And I don't believe in it, but I do it.
Right. Right.
So now when I call him every morning, did you pray? Yeah, I did actually, Jeff. What'd you pray for? I need help with that lawsuit again. I need help with this. Got another lawyer letter I'm freaking out on, but I'm taking your advice. I'm not worried about it because I can't fix it today. Great. So we do this for 30, 60, 90 days. I got 90 days of sobriety, starting to feel good. About 4 or 5 months into this, he says, hey, man, I want to ask you, whatever happened with that lawsuit, man? I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this, man. I got a friend to lend me money, and I got the government off my back, and I'm going to pay my friend back. But I don't have to worry about going to jail or whatever the penalties or fines would be. He's like, wow. He's like, whatever happened with the credit card debt? I said, called bankruptcy attorney. They just took it all away. Gone. Wow. He's like, okay. What about and he just went through the list, and he said, now, what's everything you've been praying for the last 4 or 5 months? It was everything I just listed that got resolved.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, I know, man. He said, now do you believe me that prayer might work just a little bit? Just a
Yeah.
little bit? I said, I see what you're doing here, but I got it. And believed for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could tell I got water in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The power,
But
dude. I mean, you're these stories, and what's great for me, Sean, is
here,
that
I'm going to move. My phone's about to die. I'm going to move to a different location, but just keep rolling.
okay, all right, you're good. So as you're telling me the story and where I'm at in my faith journey, as devout as I am and understanding of the truth and what's going on, I'm seeing God's brush strokes all over your life for these
Yeah.
past 10 years. You know what I mean? I mean, even
Yeah.
just literally all over the place. I mean, number one, let's just call a spade a spade. You probably should be dead by now,
Yes.
if not by an overdose, probably from driving drunk and intoxicated. And
Yes.
there's zero reason other than God had His hand in your life, and that's it. You know,
100%.
it's not on your own accord. You're here.
That's right. Oh, for sure. Well,
you,
my way
you,
wasn't working, bro.
yeah, right.
You
So
know?
yeah, so yeah, and he's got his hand all over your life, and you're starting to you believe, and now you're starting to get deeper into your faith, and all of this, your discernment and your vision for these things it's gonna all start coming into full focus. You're gonna go back and you're gonna start seeing like, oh my gosh, he was there, he was there, he was there, he
Yes.
did that, he did this, and you're just gonna start. You're gonna continue. And all that's going to happen from that is your faith is just going to continue to get deeper and deeper and deeper to understand the intricacies, and then you really start respecting the higher level of his intelligence. When we talk about the supernatural
Yeah.
intelligence, you just can't, we don't, there is nothing in our realm that we can even compare anything to understand the depth of his intelligence, right?
Yeah.
But when you have that kind of that faith piece of it, where you can go back and start seeing the intricacies of it's woven in. I had one recently where there was a guy. I'll spare the whole story, but there's a guy that invited me to his company to come speak to his company in South Carolina, and I got to witness to a lady who prayed for somebody like me to come into her life, and I actually prayed
Wow.
that morning for God to show me who I'm there for. And I ended up, there's 1,000 people on this construction site, and this one lady, it was pretty cool, right? But I start thinking, I'm like, God, I met Travis because I had a boat and he had a boat, and we were both at Smithville Lake. But I met him because he knew my wife. And my wife met him when she was 17 years old, cruising North Oak in Kansas City. And that's what made the connection, because then he knew her, so that when he saw her, she introduced him to me. We became buddies. I'm like, God started
Well,
this thing when my wife was 17,
yeah.
started intricately weaving our lives so that I could speak to this woman in South Carolina in 2025. Like,
Wow.
wow,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you piece the
That's
stuff
yeah,
together
man.
like
It's
that.
like, holy cow. And what's cool about that, and listen, could I, if God didn't exist, whatever, I could weave all those circumstances together. Yeah, sure. Right. But
Yep.
those are the lenses that I choose to look through, and
Yeah.
that's the truth that I know. And I'm going to tell you,
Yep.
man, I kind of live in Pooh Forest now, where everything's like, yeah, I'm like Mary Poppins, right? I'm not saying I'm unscathed and unfaded. I get bothered by things. I get stressed and I
Sure.
worry, and I'm a human, right? But
Yep.
I snap out of it pretty quickly. I'm like, man, God's got me. And
Yep.
I was telling somebody this the other day. They were going through some things, and I'm like, hey, listen, I got some news to break to you. You are not that important of a person for God to pick you to be the first person ever in history to let down.
Yeah.
Like, it
Wow.
ain't going to
Yeah.
be
That's
you.
good.
Like, if
Yeah.
he's going to let someone down, it's going to be somebody big, right? So trust me, he ain't gonna let you down. And
Yeah.
it's just, we laugh about that because that's true, man. Like, why would he let me down now? You know what I mean? I'm nobody, right? So anyway, okay. So tell me about. I want to know about Nina's part in the initial part of your recovery. Did she?
Oh yeah. Oof.
Yeah. How'd she handle that, and what'd she do?
Yeah.
Because I listen.
Well,
I know you well enough
yeah.
that you're a handful.
Yeah.
And so for her, she's got to be a saint. So
She is
we
a
got to
saint.
get together and get her and Dominique together. They would absolutely love
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
They're
And they're both
good.
Italian. She's Italian
I
too.
know
So
it, man.
yeah.
I know it.
Or no, is
So,
she Italian? Dominique's
oh yeah,
Italian, right? Yeah, I
full-blooded,
remember.
yeah, full-blooded Sicilian. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Okay.
so when I first started getting sober, it was really hard, right? Because I knew this time it was real. You know, the other times I
Yeah.
tried, I knew I wasn't going to do it forever. This is just temporary. Let me just,
Right.
I used to call it clean out the pipes. I'm going to clean out the pipes, feel good, and get back at it, you know?
Get under the radar a little bit. Get
Yeah,
off the radar.
yeah, you know, get out of trouble, get out of the doghouse and back at it. But this time it was forever. And I remember thinking
Mhm.
like, oh, that's the nail in the coffin. That's it. There's no more fun in life. It's going to be miserable. And that's how I viewed it. And, so anyways, I'm still trying to be the have all the same friends, you know, run in the same circles, go to events, and it was miserable the way I was doing it, and it was too soon. Well, anyways, I'm only a couple weeks sober and clean and sober, and Nina goes out with her friends, and she has a couple glasses of wine, comes home, had fun, and gives me a kiss, like, hey, because I was like, how was it, you know? And I didn't really care, selfishly. I'm like,
Right.
you went out, I didn't. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very fair, but
Yeah.
yeah, what I did to her was not fair. And so
Right.
she gives me a kiss, and I tasted wine, and I lost my mind. I'm like, I was going berserk. I'm like, ah, this is disgusting. Da, da, da. And she's like, just looking at me like, what are you doing? And I go, I'm talking loud. I'm not yelling at you. I don't know why my voice is so high. You know, I couldn't understand, but these feelings of rage were in there. I just didn't understand it. And she's like, calm down. And she's like, I said, I'm sorry. I tasted wine on your lips, and it just, because I was mad that I couldn't go out. It's just not
Yeah.
fair. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. And she's like, I'll quit right now.
Mm.
She's like, I said, no, 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 you don't have to do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to process this. She said, if it means a glass of wine or my husband, I'm going to choose my husband every time.
Mm.
And so her sober date is 2 weeks behind mine that night.
Ah, that's so great.
You
I
know,
love
she didn't have
hearing
a
that.
problem, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they were drinking just like normal-ish, you know, maybe a little
Mhm.
heavier than normal, but she wasn't anywhere near me. But
Yeah. Right. Right.
and so she hasn't had a drop of alcohol since, you know. So she just celebrated her 7 years, 2 weeks after mine this year. So
So freaking awesome.
you said she, you know, she's a saint. You're right. She's also a strong woman of God, strong Christian. Um, and she's helped me tremendously with that struggle. And you know, I reached out to you recently. I still
Yeah.
struggle with this, and I want to be open. Man, it says 1% battery, and I hope it doesn't die, but
Uh,
it shouldn't. But anyways, I just want people to know, like, it's okay. You've taught me this, and a few other people have taught me this, man. Because I reached out to you, and I still struggle with trying to figure it out.
yeah.
And but that's how my brain works. I got to know what the end result is. How do I get to Z the fastest way? You know, and that's just not how it's supposed to be. You and many others have shared with me that it's okay to be right where you're at. You're right where you're supposed to be. I think were your words to me.
Yep.
And you also suggested I try a different church. We love the place where we're going to. It was a small church in a guy's home. We love them like family, man. They're great people. But for me personally, I feel like I needed to be around more people like me. And
Yeah.
that's what you and I connected on, and you shared that with me. You were like, you know, I described the people that were there. They're super nice, man, but there's no Shawns there.
Yeah.
I need to be around at least a couple Shawns, you know, to feel somewhat normal in church, because I do feel uncomfortable in church.
Yeah.
Um, and it
Yeah. That's
doesn't
what you
have to
love,
be
man.
church, but you know, it definitely is good. My wife absolutely loves that our family goes to church every Sunday, and
So
so
did you try a new church? Have you tried a new church?
I haven't told you.
No.
I thought I gave you an update, dude. Dude,
No.
so I went to this big, they call them rock and roll churches, right? You know,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
dude, we went in there, and the first song, I just started crying. My wife's like, "Oh boy, this is
Yeah.
it." Yeah, And I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying. She goes, that's called the Holy Spirit. I'm like, well,
That's yeah,
I'm not on the third chapter yet. I'm still
yeah.
on the intro. I don't know what that is yet, but whatever. But now we go there. And again, and I told her,
What's the name of the church?
it's called
Okay.
Destiny Church, Destiny Worship Center or something like that. But, here in Destin, Florida, and it's a big church. But it's cool, man. And what's really cool is what I liked about this church is, right after the first week we went was a few days after Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and there's a father son pastor, right? Separate time. So the father was the first week we went, and he talked around what happened and tiptoed, and I didn't notice. I was like, oh, that was a really good service. I liked it. Well, people went online and were like, you should have um, said exactly how the church feels. You were being safe. And again, I'm not into the politics or the drama or anything with church by any means. And so we went the second week, and the son came and he said, here's how we're going to start church this Sunday. He said, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. And he went, bam, bam, bam. Here's what we believe. It says this in the Bible. And I was like, dude,
Hell
this,
yeah.
this guy's on fire, man. And I liked the bruteness of it. It was cool.
Unapologetic.
Yeah.
Unapologetic, man.
Yep. Yep. And,
Hey, I got a new saying that I've been saying
okay.
lately. If I'm not your cup of tea, put it down and drink something else.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's it, man. Dude, that's freaking awesome. I
Yeah.
love that.
But I did that because of you. We tried that at our church because I called you. I want these viewers to know, man, I called you. I said, hey, man, I need you. And it's not about cars or stereos or anything like that. And I said, you got a minute? And man, you just walked me through it, man. Help me.
Dude, that's awesome. That made my day. That's
Yeah.
what this is all about, dude. And you're going to be on that other side of that phone call. If you haven't been already, you're going to be on that same phone call with somebody calling you for that same stuff. And it's just, man, hey, listen, there's two things you can bank on with me. I'm going to tell you the truth as I know it, and it's coming from my heart. You don't have to like what I say. And I could be wrong. And I don't know until I'm learning every day, but up until now, this is the truth that I know. Until it changes, that's what you're going to get. And it's coming from my heart. And like it or not. So that's freaking awesome, dude. I love that.
Yeah.
And, so your daughter is, tell me how old your daughter now?
She's 10 now, 10 years old.
So is she in like a kids program there? Do you guys take her? Does she go with you?
Oh, at the church? Yeah, actually, you know what's crazy is she's in this one age group that's in between. And so the first few weeks we were like, do you want to come sit in the big church with us? And she'd never done that. She's like, sure. And she's like singing the music. She's like, I actually like it out here. And so what's cool is when you walk in, they give you a piece of paper with 3 topics or with 3 sentences with a blank so that you kind of follow along, and then we fill in the word. So she's been helping me with that, and she's been teaching me because she knows more about the Bible than I do, thanks to my beautiful wife, And what's cool is like when she was younger, she got this book. It was like Bibles for Babies or something. It was like a 10-page cartoon book. And I'm like, this is interesting. This is great. I'm absorbing it. Oh yeah, dude. And so, but she helps me. She actually enjoys the big church for now. And she might go to the teens next year or whatever it is, the next group. But, I don't know, man, it's working for us.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks to you. Thanks to Tony.Mike, baby.
Yeah, Tony.Mike. So, that's it. Yeah, that's all glory to God, man. I just step into those obedient moments. It's all, man, listen, I don't know. I just speak truth. And I I do these podcasts and I do this stuff because, that's what I want. I told somebody the other day, like, why are you doing all this stuff? Like, you want attention, whatever. I mean, sure. Yeah. I love the attention. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. You know what I mean? I do. I love the attention, but I spent 37 years of my life robbing from humanity. I took young girls' virginity. I introduced people to drugs that had never done it before. I did a lot of things. I provided a lot of pathways for people to try things they'd never done before. Bad. I did that for 37 years, and so I'm going to spend the next however long God will keep me here. I think my penance to pay, like, he's good. I feel well enough now. I'm good. I got the ticket to heaven. I'm getting in.
Yeah.
He's just going to make me wait till I'm like 146 years old before I can go. He's like, I'll let you in, but you got to
Yeah.
wait, dude. You're gonna, you're a lot to handle. I'm making you hang out. So anyway, so
He's
I'm
got
going to
more work
spend.
for you to do, man.
Yeah, right. I'm going to
Yeah.
spend the next 100 years of my life giving back to humanity, and
Yeah. It's good.
yeah, that's it, man. So let's talk about a little bit of your rebirth in business, because I know that
Yeah.
you've got a big auto business going on. Are you still doing the Toro?
Yeah. So we've got a car rental business here in Destin, Florida,
And I've watched
DestinCars.com.
you build this thing up.
Yeah.
You're starting out two, three, four cars, and I literally have
Yeah.
watched you. How many cars do you have now in this
Right
program?
now I'm down to about 25 cars, but
Down to 20.
well, I had 90 cars at one time.
Wow.
It was too much. We grew too fast and all kinds of, it was, again, more,
Yeah.
that
Oh
addict
yeah. No,
mentality, man.
for
And I'm
sure.
finally learning, like, I'm at a safe number, a good number, and it's comfortable. It's good. It's easy. We're so good at this number. 25 to 30 is good for this market,
Yeah, that's right.
but I went in with this all in mentality and, a God thing. Check this out. So, I'm working for a coaching business, for a guy that moved me here to Destin, Florida to help him build his coaching business, coaching business owners and things like that. And, I got the idea to start Turo. I just heard of it. I want to do a car rental thing. We're in a tourist area. This will be fun. And I started with one car, my wife's car. I put her car on there, and it got rented right away. And so I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go buy 100 cars. And she's like, wait, what? You started with one car. What do you mean 100? I'm like, no, we got to go to 100 cars. And she's like, have you learned nothing from the bankruptcy? Like, slow and steady, just get your second car. Okay, cool. So I go to the dealership, get a Bronco on car number two. And, I've never heard of anybody having more than 10 cars at this point, and I'm going 100. That's how I'm going to get my millions back, baby. My redemption tour. And, I freaking, my wife's like, why 100? I'm like, that's just the number. God put it in my head. She's like, no, he did not. Okay. That's what you want because it's a big number. And, so anyway, so I go to, I'm button heads with the owner of the coaching company. It's about time for me to go do my own thing, even though I don't realize it yet. And, so I tell my wife, if this guy says this thing one more time, man, I'm out of here. I've had it. And, so anyways, I tell them, I think it's time. I'm going to go build this car rental business, but, I can't afford to quit right now. But how about we work something out where I work less? I start building this and I help you guys. I'm in the office less, but I help you with the live events. And they're like, okay, great. We got our next event coming up. So go to the next event, and there's a guy there on day one. He opens up his journal and he's writing, I want to be a better father, better husband, and build my Turo business. Da, da, da. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What was that? What was that right? You do Turo? I said, yeah, I do Turo too, man. I said, I got 2 cars, man. How about you? He said, oh, I got about 100 cars. What?
Yeah.
That's real? Like you can do 100 cars? He's like, oh yeah, my goal is to get to 150 next. I'm losing my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I
You're
said,
like,
dude,
hang on. Put this
yeah,
father and son, the dad shit to the side. We need to
yeah,
talk business.
yeah. So I said, hey, I'm going to let you have your experience here for the next 4 days with us, but, can we talk afterwards? And he's like, yeah. And I'm trying to act cool. I'm like, all right, cool. And inside I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
So afterwards he flies home and I call him and I said, hey man, can
Where's
I
he
want,
from?
he's in Phoenix,
Okay.
Scottsdale area. And so I said, hey, I want to do this. I won't compete with you. I want to be in Florida, but I want to do exactly what you're doing. And I'm leaving the coaching business. And, I said, so I'm willing to pay you whatever you ask. And I'm going to come down for, I want to spend a day with you. You just say the number and I'm going to pay it. Like, this is what I know in my heart I want to do. And, he's like, okay, cool. He said, well, actually I need you for 2 days if we're going to do that. I'm like, okay. And how much is it? He said, $0
Mm,
and come stay in my house. Don't get a hotel. Just fly in.
mm.
Are you serious? It's like, yeah. I said, but you're the only guy out there that I've ever heard of. So at this point, there was only 2, maybe 3 people in the United States that had anywhere near this volume of cars on Turo. And he was known as the Turo King. And so, I go out there and he shows me everything, and I'm thinking, I come from the mortgage world that's like government regulated. I'm like, this seems really simple, dude. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, it is. You're just renting cars and cleaning, vacuuming, and running a business.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So I go home, tell my wife we're going to buy 100 cars. And she's like, whatever. I can't, doesn't matter what I tell you, you
Yeah.
know, I can see it in your eyes. And so I did. So I went and I just, man, it was like the first time I had my fire back, you know, after the bankruptcy, the drug addiction, sobriety, recovery, paying all these debts back, which I still haven't paid all of them back yet, from the bankruptcy. I
Yeah.
still owe people, but that's the prayer. Can you pay it today? No? Okay. Well, we'll
You're
figure it
working on
out. So we're still working on it. And we got payment plans and everything's happening. But anyway, so man, I had more energy in business than I ever had. And it was unhealthy, right? Because I was day and night, I was everybody at the car wash thought I owned the car wash. I was there all the time. I was cleaning these cars. I thought I was the manager. They were asking me where the bathroom was. I said, I don't work here. But it was crazy. And then it grew, and I had to have my wife help me. Now it's both of us. And if anybody's ever worked with their spouse, if you work together too much, it can become a problem. And it started to become a problem. First of all, we're two different brains, and I'm the boss, and I know what's best. And she's like,
it.
you lost everything. Don't forget. Here's why we're going to bring it down
You
here
got
just
to
a
do
little
this
bit.
best.
Yeah. You know, and I didn't like that, but I needed it. And she saved me on a lot of stuff, but it got to the point where I'm like, I got to hire someone, and because we're becoming roommates who work together all the time.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so we had to cut that cord, you
Yeah.
know, and that's another reason I don't need 100 cars. First of all, this market can't handle it on the business side, but on the family side, it was too much. Our daughter, we did everything we said we'd never do. We threw an iPad at her. She lived in the back seat, running through the car washes. She was drying off cars, and at 8 years old, come
Yeah.
on. And so, anyways, restructured everything, less cars. Actually found out we were more profitable with less cars, less
Yeah.
stress, less errors, less maintenance. And so, anyways, we built that up into the largest private rental car company here on the Panhandle, and then downsized it because I wanted to be the largest,
Hmm.
right? Which meant
Yep.
a divorce potential, bankruptcy potential, risk for what?
Yeah.
So set the ego aside. Now, guess what? We're probably the 100th largest. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I
Doesn't
don't care.
matter.
I
You
have a
do it.
solid car rental company and a solid marriage,
Yeah.
and I'm a good dad,
Yeah.
and that's all that matters. I just want to provide. So
That's
that's business one. Business two is this. It's
yeah.
our,
That's what I want to
um,
get into next. I just learned about that. This is new
yeah.
for you, right?
This is new. So when I worked for that coaching
No pun
company,
intended. This is your expansion
this
project.
is, yeah, and that's what it's called here. It's called expansion.
Expansion.
But
Love it.
when I worked for that the guy I was butting heads with, he had a business partner named Spencer Kimball, and Spencer was the other owner. But he and I, man, we joked and laughed and we had fun all the time. And the other owner would be like, "Man, can you guys ever be serious?" And of course, that'd make us laugh and be like, "No," and he
Yeah.
hated that. But anyway, so I missed. I was going all in on the car rental thing, but man, I missed coaching people.
Yeah.
Helping people like you. You get it, man. You're helping people. It's very
Coach.
fulfilling. And so I just started. I didn't have an office space to do it in. Like the old company was really nice, big company. I just held up my phone and shot a video on Facebook and said, "Hey, man, I'm looking to hire one-on-one coaching clients. I'm only accepting 3 people. So the first 3 spots, let me know if you're interested, and we'll talk more." And I filled 3 spots. I was like, "Holy crap! I didn't think that would happen." I'm like, "I guess I don't need an office. They're all out of state.
Right.
We're just doing phone calls, Zoom calls like this."
Yeah.
And so we started. And so it was fulfilling for me. I was helping them. I charged a third of what the big corporation company was charging. And it was still good money for me, and for them. And so the other partner, Spencer, called me one day. He's like, "Hey man, I love what you're doing. I love the car rental company, man. We always had fun working together. What are you doing with the coaching?" Like, hey, no offense to your company, you and your partner's company, but I charge about a third what you guys charge. We're laughing and having fun, and it's not so militant like you guys like to do over there. And he's like, dude, I hate that part of it. I like having fun with you. He's like, why don't we do something together? Really?
Hmm.
Okay, let's talk.
Yeah.
So he ended up leaving his partnership with that guy, and now we started expansion, and we're having fun. We're
How
keeping it
long you
light.
been doing this expansion project now?
Well, we started it April of last year, so about a year and a half, and we ran our first event, and it was everything we didn't want it to be.
Of
It was
course.
terrible. I don't want to say it was terrible. We only had 5 clients show up, and they
Yep.
loved it.
Uh-huh.
The fifth client was our assistant's dad to kind of hit out of pity. He's like, "You get it's terrible. Like you got need more bodies in the room." But they all had a great experience. But me and Spencer were like, "This is not what we wanted it to be. Like we didn't feel comfortable. It's not the things we wanted to teach, And so we didn't want to kill it and throw it down the drain. But we said we're going to shelf it. And so a lot of these coaching companies out there are a lot of like alpha guys that are yelling at the client, like you
Yeah.
got to be better, you're a little beef, you don't do
Yeah.
this,
Right. Yeah.
and we don't. It's just not who I am naturally, and neither is Spencer. But we both have a lot of great success stories and wins and struggles, and we've powered through a lot of them. And so Spencer said, there's one thing that's always missing with all these coaching companies. They all tell you how to get physically fit, and they all tell you need to do this in business, and they're all really similar. He said, but none of them actually give you a tool that makes enough money to justify their high cost. Some of these coaches charge 50 grand, 25, 50 grand, 100 grand to be a part of these year-long programs. It's
Mhm.
expensive. It's
Yeah.
ridiculously expensive. And so we created something through Spencer's bright mind, because he was always stuck on that. He said, if we're going to charge a hefty amount, it has to pay them back. Like they have
Yeah.
to, at the minimum, get their money back on you can't just go make them feel good for $35,000.
Right. Right.
Uh, and so
And I'm
go
glad
ahead.
you're going there with this because one of the things that turned me off, obviously I'm in this space and I'm interested and I subscribe to a lot of channels and things and
Yep.
you know, yeah, everybody, you got to invest in yourself. What more better money is there? And that's kind of it's almost like it's a logic trap in my opinion. Like, what's your value on your life? And you're like, is your life worth more than 10 grand? Well, of course it is. So 10 grand's nothing, right? And it's like, no,
Yeah.
10 grand is something. It's still expensive.
Yeah.
And so it's always because ROI on feeling better is super subjective. What I wanted to make sure that we end on is two things. Number one, I'll link your expansion. I'll get some links to your guys' site, to your business there. I'll get you a link to Destin Cars. I'll put a link to your Instagram for you personally. And then do you have a Instagram for expansion as well?
We
I think
do.
you do, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I saw that. So I'll link all those in the bio, in the description of the video here, so you guys will have
Yeah.
access to. If you're needing some coaching, I'm more than certain these guys will help you out, man. But so, dude, last thing I want to do is
Yeah.
what I have all my guests. These videos, we have no idea how long they're going to perpetuate. Could be 100 years, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's left out here for the world to see for a long time, and so leave us with something like a legacy, something you would tell the future generation, even if it were 100 years from now. If there's a guy that logged in that's struggling, what, or just anything. What do you want to leave for humanity for the next 100 years from Shawn Vinson?
Mm. Ooh, that's tough. One
I
thing
should have
that was,
prefaced.
what's that?
I should have prefaced you with that one. I usually tell people to be ready for that question.
Yeah. Well, there was something that was taught to me, really simple words that resonated. And this doesn't have to do with your belief by any means, but as far as making a impactful change in your life, um, guy said, no one's coming to save you, man. And I know God and Jesus and all them can save you, right? In that way. But we have to do the work. We have to move our feet, put our bodies into action, God is not just going to pick me up and make me walk over here and start doing these things. He can guide me, right? Lead the horse to water, but I have to do the work. And for me, I have to do it every day, every day. So, but for anyone who's struggling with any kind of addiction, it can be food, porn, alcohol, drugs, anything, complacency. That's a common one that people don't even recognize. Enough, yeah. When is enough is enough for you, right? And for me, it was the day my daughter couldn't say her R's, and she said, "Daddy, your eyes look weird."
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah. Man, dude, your story's great. I listen. I knew we would talk forever, and we could have kept going.
Yeah.
There's plenty we can talk about. Man, it's just it's so awesome. I am I'm proud. I'm proud of you, dude.
I'm
very,
proud of
very
you. I'm proud of us. I've said that to you before.
Yeah,
I'm proud of us, bro.
Yeah, I am too, man. We're and you listen, just sitting here listening to you articulate how you're processing and working through. It's like it's almost like we're brothers from other mother, man. We're separated at birth and living almost parallel lives. I mean, we got these great wives that are in our corner, and it just, man, I know exactly the life you're living, man. We're hustlers, we're go getters, we're entrepreneurs. We want to help people. Hey, I want to tell you, if nobody's told you this before, a piece of like what you're doing to help people, we tend to gravitate. So I heard this the other day and I was like, yeah, that's true. We tend to we want to help the people we once were. If you look at like who you get the most fulfillment out of talking to and helping, it's the guy that you used to be.
100% true. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that is true. I mean, I like helping a lot of people in different scenarios, but when I get somebody who like did what I did and like, it's like, man, like I got good. I got some goods for you. I know exactly how to help you. So anyway, well, man, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to hit the ejection handle and get out of here.
Okay.
We'll have to do this. We'll follow up later with some updates on your business and everything else. And so maybe one of these days I can shake loose and I can be a speaker at one of your events.
Yeah. That sounds good, brother. Hey, thanks for having me, brother. This has been beautiful. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to do my outro here. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah, baby. Been another successful episode of the Stronger Leader podcast with our great guest, Shawn Vinson. That's what you're in my photo. Man, it's been great. And listen, guys, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and tap that bell so you get the notifications when all the new stuff drops. And I'm going to make sure I link all of Shawn's ability to get a hold of him down in the deal below. And as always, be good, be blessed, and be stronger. Peace.